Partnership or North American Union. Abandonment of plans for a NAFTA superhighway which would have put nearly all American longshoremen and truckers out of work. And suspension of NAFTA completely until Mexico gives its workers union rights, protections for safety, health, and the environment, and wages at least matching the U.S. federal minimum wage. From now on, globalization will mean raising living standards in developing nations to match ours, not the other way around. Our values and goodness are not reflected by a system in which all our personal income taxes go to pay interest on a staggering national debt created out of thin air. The Constitution authorizes Congress to print our money, not a private cartel mostly owned by the Queen of England. I ask Congress to pass legislation abolishing the Federal Reserve. Our values and goodness are not reflected by a government which uses our money to train death squads in the techniques of torture, intimidation, and assassination. The School of the Americas, by whatever name they choose to call it, will be closed. As Commander-in-Chief, by the way, I've ordered that the students currently attending the school be shown the movies Romero and Panama Deception and then sent home. Our values and goodness are not reflected by a government which gives most favored nation status to the butchers of Tiananmen Square and places an illegal secondary embargo on the impoverished people of Cuba. The embargo of Cuba must end, and it just did. Now, I recognize that we need advance information on the activities of Al-Qaeda and those who wish to do us harm. But our values and goodness are not reflected by, and our security is not enhanced by, an organization which promotes instability, insurrection, tyranny, torture, terrorism, murder, and war around the world in our name and with our money. If the CIA won't stick to gathering intelligence, I will abolish it. Our values and goodness are not reflected by a government which sends its working class youth around the world to kill the sons and daughters of working people in other countries. Our values and goodness are not reflected by sending our children to the Middle East to kill Arabs so the oil companies can profit from selling the oil under someone else's sand, making us the target of terrorists. No more Iraqs, no more Kosovos, no more El Salvadors. These are not isolated incidents of stupidity. They're part of a long, bloody history of foreign policy being conducted for the financial interest of the wealthy few. It is a new form of terror, of colonialism. It violates our Constitution. It endangers our national security. It mortgages our future. It sacrifices our children. It must stop, and it just did. As president, I will use the men and women in our armed forces to protect our borders and our people, not the financial interests of Folgers, Chiquita Banana, Exxon, and Halliburton. Needless to say, there will be no nuclear attack on Iran. My special envoy to the Middle East, Jimmy Carter, will be meeting with them to solve our differences. And once he is finished there, he will straighten out the Israelis and the Palestinians. With over 60 years having passed since the end of World War II, and with the Cold War long since over, I see no reason why we should still be occupying Germany and Japan. Our worldwide military presence will end within 2 years. Now, this is not isolationism, it's common sense. It's in the security interest of our people and is obeying our Constitution for a change. Instead of a worldwide military presence, we are going to have a humanitarian presence. Along with the other wealthy nations of the world, we shall initiate a new Marshall Plan, providing funds to rebuild the Middle East as we rebuilt Europe after World War II. We will also have a domestic Marshall Plan, fulfilling the unkept Bush promises to rebuild New Orleans and the surrounding area. In addition, we will take the lead in complete debt forgiveness for the poorest countries, starting with those in Africa. If we are once again to be a great nation, we must first be a good nation. Finally, I'd like to speak directly to the American people. I understand that I am but an interim president. I could never have been elected under the present system. I know I tried in 2000. And I'm unlikely to even finish out this term, partly because I have terminal cancer from Agent Orange, and partly because there are powerful interests with hundreds of billions of reasons for wanting me assassinated. By the way, if you ever hear that I have suddenly committed suicide by shooting myself in the back with a shotgun 3 times, you might want to be just a little bit suspicious. You know, they'll call you a conspiracy theorist, but that's all right. Be suspicious anyway. But you know, it won't matter. They can kill me, but they can't kill what we started. My words, heard tonight by a few, will tomorrow reach many. Through the internet, the vision of the patriots will spread across the land and around the globe. You, the American people, will not let it die. I'm unlikely to get there with you, but like Brother Martin, I have been to the mountaintop, and I have seen the promised land. What I have seen is an America which every person, regardless of their race, creed, color, age, or sexual orientation, is valued and lives in dignity. Every person is cared for. Every person is free to choose his or her life partner. And every person is free to reach his or her full potential. It is an America in which every family can be supported by one wage earner with one job paying a living wage. It is an America in which single parents can freely choose to stay home to care for their children, or choose to work outside the home in the knowledge that their children will be cared for in a safe and nurturing environment. It's an America in which health care is provided to all as a right. It is an America in which our youth spend 2 years in the American World Service Corps, perhaps serving in the Peace Corps or AmeriCorps or Habitat for Humanity.